Hi everyone, namaste, welcome back to my YouTube channel. We haven't seen each other for a while and currently I am in France, in Clermont-Ferrand. I'm here doing my master's in dance anthropology and I will talk about it in my next video about the opportunity for all dancers, regardless the dance form that you have been learning, to go into academical field with the dance and get a fully funded scholarship to study it in 4 countries in Europe, in Norway, Hungary, France and UK. But this is the topic of our next video. In this one I would like to talk with you about one phenomenon that probably most of you have observed but haven't spoken much about. All these high-tech tools that use a lot of effective support for the creativity. Perhaps every teacher is forced with some kind of dilemma to be more innovative, to be transmitting knowledge in the way that is not exactly the classical Gurukula style. We can talk about different types of knowledge in general, right? There is scientific knowledge, that's the knowledge usually that has been proven, maybe it's still debatable, but there are very strong arguments behind it. Then there is a common sense knowledge, it's probably some knowledge that has been passed from generation to generation. When we talk about Indian classical dance and the way of its transmission, or the way it's brought from teacher to the student, I would call it a dogmatic knowledge. What is dogma? It's a Greek word. It literally translates as an opinion, a verdict, enactment. With the development of Christianity, the idea of dogma became as something that is a testimony which cannot be challenged or an ultimate truth. Dogmatism can be interpreted as a prohibition of a particular force on thinking and knowledge that go beyond the limits of the established canon. Dogmatic knowledge is considered to be conservative. That's why it manifests in Indian classical dances. It's something that is very rigid, very strict. It's based on the tradition, on very old teachings. Even though we know Indian classical dance, most of the forms, Mohiniyattam included, they were reconstructed in the 20th century. Dogmatic knowledge can be criticized as being too rigid, too judgmental. You can't think left or right from the norms. And if we think about Indian classical dance, especially when it was taught traditionally, there is this very high authority of Guru, and we have the shloka Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Deva Maheshwara, Guru Sakshi Parabrahma Tasmai Shri Guru Namaha. So Guru is a god, so basically his or her word is an ultimate truth. So as a student, you are not encouraged, in the mild word, to challenge your teacher. You have to follow their way. I remember when I was starting my dance journey, other dancers, they were telling me, your teacher knows when to teach you what, you don't even ask, you don't even argue, it's all in their hands. So there's kind of this concept of this divinity, and there is an absolutely beautiful element in it. Despite the criticism, dogma is something that gives us a very firm and strong structure. Somebody will guide us in the process that has been tested by generations and generations, that it has been accepted by society. It means it works for majority of people, right? It might not work for everyone, but it works for majority. That's why society kind of accepted it as a dogma. And also in the classical dance, it gives kind of a model to aim at. Maybe it limits your freedom, yes, of expression, of creativity, but it gives you a very strong ideal to which you're aiming as a dancer. Like literally, gurus love when you embody their body. And I've heard some dance teachers, some senior dance teachers in Kalamandalam, they were sharing that, oh, I see myself on my moves in her, like some of them were talking about, some of my friends. And I did not have this privilege, unfortunately, to hear it, because I changed a lot of dance teachers while being in Kalamandalam. Not my fault. Most of them were getting pregnant as soon as I was getting them as teachers. I think I'm a kind of a lucky charm, so if you want to get pregnant, please contact me. So this element of embodying your teacher's personal style, and of course it becomes your own, and of course there will be slight modifications. You can't copy exactly the person. You are not that person. You can't be in their shoes. You can't be in their flesh and blood, right? But the guru gives you the element of herself in order for you to embody it, and you, by embodying it later, will help your students to embody it. So whatever changes were happening, they were very slow, they were very nuanced, and they were very organic. So we wouldn't see the radical change in the dance styles and dance schools. Dogmatic knowledge doesn't mean it stops you from creativity. It challenges you, yes, because who would dare, let's say, for example, to do something against his or her guru? Who would dare to do something against a style or something that is considered to be very common in the tradition? But then once you've got this foundation, if you really want to experiment, you would be like, oh, okay, maybe I won't call it Mohiniyattam, but I will take like a piece of something that's not allowed and attach to it. Maybe it will be called fusion. But that kind of gives you also an indication how you can be experimental, right? So it doesn't bring you into this chaos of postmodern reality, which literally puts no obligations under you. This, on one hand, gives people unlimited freedom, but also gives people limitations, because when people are faced with so many choices, then the psychological phenomenon of paradox of choice kicks in, and our mind simply is not able to handle so much uncertainty. We are not trained for it. That's why this kind of dogmatism has been existing in society. If we talk about dogmatic knowledge and the way it is transmitted, the way teachers use it, it's passed on a vertical model. If you think vertical, right, it's like if you use the phone in a portrait way, right? Top is your teacher, bottom is you as a student. So you always know who is the boss, you always know whom to listen. While if again we talk about modern disciplines and postmodern disciplines, there is no hierarchy. You're on the same level. The student can challenge the teacher. The teacher needs to constantly adopt his or her methodology to students' requests, needs, or concerns. And even more, it sometimes goes beyond the horizontal way of teaching. It can go in a very circular or even a spiral mode of teaching, you know? So it can be sometimes very unclear who is the leader. Is it the student or the teacher in postmodern learning? Of course, the positive side of postmodern learning techniques is that it encourages greatly the confluence of ideas. Different cultures blend into each other. Like, for example, I could go and do some Belarusian chants with Indian classical dance, and that would be encouraged and applauded. So it encourages interculturalism, right? Transculturalism. So you transit from one culture to another. You can bring some elements from different disciplines. And let's think about Indian classical dance today, especially the one that we see present online. So nowadays, to see classical items in a very classical setup, it's actually becoming incredibly rare. And of course, don't get me wrong, formal elements are still present in classical dance teaching. Even online teaching, so it became extremely popular after COVID, right? So, but these classical elements had to be modified to be fitted in this digital reality. Okay, for example, there is still namaskaram being done during like a salutation, right, during the dance performance, and you symbolically touch a teacher's feet, but you can't touch teacher's feet because your teacher is behind the screen. And another interesting thing, I have seen pujas even performed online for Guru Purnima. All these practices are actually a signifier, something that means that the dance preserves its connection to its ancient hereditary traditions of the dancers, temple dancers, such as Devadasis, or that the dance has a very sacred and spiritual component, but the way it enters online creates a completely different reality, right? On a side note, if we really think about spirituality existing in the digital domain, we would think of a cyberpunk philosophy, if you've heard about it. It's based on the games and how spiritual elements are introduced in gaming and early internet. So nowadays, actually, if we think slowly but surely, the church, the religious groups, the cult leaders, tarot readers, everything is online. You can access YouTube videos where people are cleansing your aura, or you're like removing evil eye from you just by waving in front of the screen. I hope I remove somebody's evil eye at the moment. So all this is already not surprising us. So digital churches, digital funeral services, digital marriages, all is very common. Where we're heading with this, I'm not completely sure, but it's always interesting to observe it and try to see it as an outsider. Okay, what is happening now? Where have I been 10 years ago? Where am I now? Now I'm living in my smartphone, right? I can't imagine leaving the house without a smartphone. How this digital learning of Indian classical dances or digital knowledge transmission, how it affected the way the dance is taught. Personally, I have observed that less and less teachers online teach very heavy items such as Varnam, like a full Varnam, 35 minutes Varnam that is so common. Now it's mostly very short Varnams, like competition Varnams of 10 minutes or so. Full Margam is also very rarely given piece by piece. It's mostly adapted choreographies or something that a student can grasp faster than in the usual course of learning. There are also much less repetitions happening. If in the classroom the teacher would ask you to repeat and repeat and repeat until you get it, like in online format it's more common. Okay, I show you once, okay, maybe twice, maybe once I try with you, and you have to get it. If you don't get it, you get the video and work with video. This is your homework. So video is becoming another way that guru tries to transmit his or her knowledge to the student. Video recording becomes an avatar of a teacher, a digital avatar of a teacher that a student can carry and practice with it. Additionally, I know so many students record themselves when they practice, because this way they can see themselves as their guru would see them, or as an audience would see them. So you become the other in the self, this kind of personality split, right? So you're judging yourself from the outside, and you're also trying to be yourself. Additionally, if you think about especially younger generation teachers, dance teachers and dance students, very important part of their identity is built around their online representation, especially such platforms like TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. And this also dictates the way they approach the dance. So as I said, first of all, the heavy items are dropped away. It's a lot of fusions are happening, a lot of use of cinematic music. Sometimes you would watch a video and you wouldn't understand if it's really Bharatanatyam or Mohiniyattam, because they move with the Mohiniyattam move, then suddenly there's one Karana come. Do we see on videos like Indian classical dance is blended with music that is not traditional, such as hip-hop. We see it blended with electronic music, with Western classical music. Nowadays, there are so many shorts and reels, which just shows like a glimpse, like a small movement of Mohiniyattam, and then very quick steps, probably taken from some other dance forms such as Bharatanatyam. Also, I noticed there is kind of like a small trend that is happening, that Mohiniyattam dance use abhinaya based on kritis that are more popularized than the others. So they just enact like the lyrics of the song, they sit in front of the camera and enact the lyrics of the song. Like, it kind of became very popular as well. It's an interesting thing to watch. So now the question arises, will these changes benefit or will they harm the art form? I want to hear your opinion. Please write in the comment below. Nice to see you back, and wait for my next video where I will tell you about an opportunity to study as a fully funded scholarship in European countries and study dance anthropology and dance ethnography.